Hello and welcome to another episode of the MTG Arena Run. Today we're now going to be having a post-mortem look at the Golgari Exploration deck. Even though we did quite abysmally on our run, we actually learned a lot of things along the way. So first things first, we're going to start by cutting out a lot of the chaff. So we're going to start with the creatures. Jungle Creeper definitely has to go. Sure, it's nice to have a tree for a tree, but if we're going if we end up in the doing just the good stuff plan, it kind of defeats the purpose of the exploration. We're gonna just explore primarily as much the exploration team as possible. Admittedly, it's one of the first things to easily get obsoleted, but we'll give this a try. Mausoleum Harpy also goes. Scaled Behemoth could easily replace it with a Carnage Tyrant. That's though it's a mythic. Leave that there for now. We'll definitely remove Shadowed Caravel and Sifter Worm. We're actually okay. Let's see. Is that it for the Vizier of the Menagerie? It allows us to play some of the cards that basically it allows us to have an idea what are we exploring. So gives us some additional information, but we'll see about that. We'll definitely remove Enter the Unknown. Sure, it's a one-shot explore for 1 mana, but there are better ways to get card advantage here. So with that setup, we removed some of the chaff creatures first. First thing we're gonna do is go all in on our synergy cards. So an additional Wild Growth Walker. Definitely want to benefit more from the Explorer. Lurking Chupacabra, sure, we can benefit from additional explorers that way. In fact, are those we removed the Caravel, so that. But I'm wondering if those are the only cards that those are only enablers or not. So from initial look, yeah, those seem to be our only enablers. We probably will add. So it's definitely just Lurking Chupacabra and Wild Growth Walker. We'll definitely add another Path of Discovery. Actually, by adding a Path of Discovery, we do lessen our reliance on having a lot of early game explore. That's another thing we're gonna note because we have creatures like Ixali's Diviner. Sometimes usually a 0/3, sometimes a 1/4. Great blocker, not so great as a 2-drop. In fact, I would rather drop those in favor of more Branch Walkers. Seeker Squire, no, we'll drop those two. We'll start leaning it towards one color. As it is some even split between black and green. We're gonna lean it primarily towards green at this point. So drop those. And actually, Tishana's Wayfinder. This one is a 3 to cast. 2/2 one-shot explore. This is one card that we will definitely upgrade with the rare called Jade Light Ranger. It's a 2/1 for 3 mana. It's a bit harder to cast, but it explores twice. So this one nets us more advantage, or at least just becomes much bigger. So we'll definitely bump this up to 3. Merfolk Branch Walker's already up at 3. Let's see. Tomb Robber. This one's our repeatable Explore. I guess we could add one more. The Deadeye Tracker. Once we start getting best of 3 matches and we have a sideboard, I will definitely put Deadeye Tracker in the sideboard. This is definitely a card you want to use against you want to use against some decks with graveyard synergies, especially while Scarab God's still around. Emperor's Vanguard, 4 to cast, 1 off. I guess we could double up on it, but I'd rather double up, just max out on Jade Light Rangers if that's the case. We'll leave the Emperor's Vanguard there for now. Thing is, it's a 4/3 for 4. It's not always that it's gonna be able to deal combat damage to the player. That's an interesting note. So we got that covered. Let's see. We could keep the Scaled Behemoths our big drop, but I think I'd rather drop this in favor of another Tender Shoot Dryad. And I'd probably drop the Emperor's Vanguard in favor of a Trashing Brontodon. So we still have a slot for creatures or spells. Let's probably up the Trashing Brontodon. It's a bit of a non-bow with Path of Discovery if you have to sack it, but actually no. Let's drop the Trashing Brontodon. Let's up the Ravenous Chupacabra. It is removal. Speaking of removal, let's take a look at our removal spells. Doomfall gives us access to our opponent's hand. Final Reward, quite expensive but does exile. We'll definitely drop Impale. Definitely drop the Moment of Craving. The nice thing about having black is that we don't have to rely on green's creature-based removal. As in, most of green's removal, actually all of green's removal spells, you need to have at least a creature on board. It's not always gonna happen. I guess you could have one or two copies of Pounce or Ambushcade on the sideboard. But since we do have access to black, let's make the most out of it. So definitely start with cast. That's not how you spell cast. Definitely start with some copies of Cast Down. 2 mana. It won't deal with legendaries, so we will need other cards for that. Dropping the Doomfall and the Final Reward in favor of. Suppose we could play Never to Return, or we'll just play Vraska's Contempt. So we'll play 2 copies of Vraska's Contempt instead. Yes, this is becoming a bit more expensive. Bear with me on this. We'll drop the Walk the Plank in favor of. Actually, I suppose we can add the Never to Return here. Basically, it's your good mix of Vraska's Contempts, Cast Downs, Never to Return. Actually, we have a Reaver Ambush here. We'll drop that in favor of another Cast Down. Once we get access to Kaladesh Aid Revolt, I can see there'll be a different mix of Cast Downs with Fatal Pushes, just because that's cheaper. So, got 4, 5, 6 if we count the Chupacabra. 7, 8. So we have 8 pieces of removal. We kind of want a little more. Sure, we'll actually use this to bump up the Chupacabra. Add more Chupacabras. So that's our current mix for now. We will keep the Golden Demise. It is a good way to take care of opponents. Their token strategies are a bit on the rise, so having a sweeper is nice. Then speaking of that, let's take a look at our. Actually, there is another thing I want to add. We don't have. Sure, we are. One problem that we noticed is that we are dependent in drawing gas, so we are going to add some copies of Adventurous Impulse. That's basically a form of card draw of sorts. Sure, it won't draw us into removal, but that's why we have. But it will draw us into creatures that can remove. So we may have to adjust our removal suite in that manner. So Cast Down. I suppose we could remove Golden Demise. Actually, we'll leave it like this for now. Let's see how many creatures we have. Okay, we're playing a 25 land deck. I suppose I could cut this down to 24, but let's leave it at 25. 26 creatures. Definitely a lot. Let's see. We are. I guess we are overloaded on the 3 and 4 slots. Okay, the 4 slot is the contentious one, so we're gonna cut a bit on the Chupacabra. We'll leave Vizier. It's basically a form of card advantage. We will leave the Actually, we could cut down on one Merfolk Branchwalker, 1 Lurking Chupacabra. We'll keep the Wild Growth Walker because this is actually a better finisher. Lurking Chupacabra is good as to remove, but opponent's threats. But Wild Growth Walker is good to do the final charge in. So we're gonna bump up the Adventurous Impulse. I'd probably actually just drop the you know what? I'll drop the Golden Demise for now because we're upgrading it. We want it a little bit spicy. Let's add, let's add a copy of Vraska Relic Seeker. That's basically our top end. It's also a source of removal, source of creatures, and it's a nice thing to explore once in a while. And we're only just adding one copy. We're not totally dependent on it. Sometimes you could just add a little spice. Now, as for our land setup, we're definitely dropping the Foul Orchards in favor of Woodland Cemeteries. Again, pretty much upgrade the mana base as when you can. You don't have to do it immediately. Now, Chef Oasis and If Near Deadlands, I don't like these as one-offs. I would like to run this with more deserts if I could. I'm going to actually drop these. We'll definitely put an Arch of Araska again, and we are getting a lot of card advantage through Explore, so this might be a really unnecessary late game. And instead of those, we're gonna add a Memorial to Unity. Let's see, is that the correct one? Yes, Memorial to Unity. Glory is the one that produces some. We'll add a Memorial to Unity. That one acts as a form of card advantage too. It gives us some. Gives us a way to tutor. Now, probably. Now we're gonna take a look at the mana base one more time. It's a bit pricey, probably because of all the rares that we've added in. The nice thing to note is, okay, Vraska's Contempt is a bit on the pricey side. Playset of Jade Light Rangers is expensive, so I guess you could upgrade this a lot later. Just use Tishana's Wayfinders for now. Nice thing about Magic Arena is that the mana is that sure on one hand you can't exactly buy into it immediately, but I get at least the cards values are all more or less equal, so I guess it's a good thing or a bad thing depending on how often you play, how you look at the wildcard system. I know I would definitely prefer to have a faster rate of acquisition, both for the packs and for wildcards in general. But the nice thing, but anyway, we will adjust. We will cut one swamp because yes, we will cut one swamp. We will add another forest. Actually, we will just add another Memorial to Unity. And this is our take on Golgari Exploration. Now again, this is a very set specific flavor of green black. I can see other versions that you can take. If you're starting mostly with cards, if you have more cards from Dominaria than from Ixalan, I suppose you can try a Saproling version. Most of the cards there are commons and uncommons. The only rares that would even the key legendary Slimefoot the Stowaway is an uncommon. Pretty much the only rares you'd be looking for are Tender Shoot Drads, which we're running 2 off anyway. So that is another thing we can explore. In fact, if I gather enough cards, I might try exploring it in the new format. We'll see how it goes. And so let's take a look at the deck one last time. This is again, you can pretty much we work towards building the deck. Don't pressure yourself into building a deck like this immediately. Sometimes you might explore and find things that are a lot better. So, and there are other alternatives that you might be able to make work. For example, if you don't have a lot of access to black removal, we do have enough creatures. Try getting access to green removal. So we could use things like Ambuscade and whatnot. So this is our take. And if you enjoy what you see, please don't forget to like and subscribe. We got one more deck to explore, and at the time of this recording, the day for the update is getting nearer. But let's see if we can. Let's see how we cap off all of these. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you again next time.